Hi everyone, welcome back to Nuskrit. So let's solve today's daily LeetCode challenge, which is subarrays with k different integers. So let's try to read the problem statement first. So we are given an integer array nums and an integer k. Return the number of good subarrays of nums. Let's try to read what good subarray means is. So according to the question, a good subarray is an array where the number of different integers in that array is exactly k. Like suppose if we are considering any subarray, right? Say for example, if you are considering any subarray, in this particular subarray, the number of different or distinct elements should be exactly 2, right? So this is what a good subarray means. Now, so what we need to do is we need to return the total number of good subarrays of nums. Okay. So I think the problem statement is clear. So we will be doing this question with two different approaches, right? So we will first solve this question using the approach 1. So let's see how we can actually solve it. So as always we do, we will take one start variable, we will take one end variable, and because this is related to the frequency of the elements, so we will definitely have to take one hash map as well, right? So now let me take this subarray count variable in which I will be maintaining the count of this subarray, and initially it is set to 0. So k is equals to 2 over here. So the idea is very simple. So first what I'll do, I will try to calculate all those subarrays which is having at most 2 elements, right? That means 1 will also be the subarray, 1, 2 will also be the subarray, 1, 2, 1 will also be the subarray, because all of these subarrays are having at most 2 different, or you can say like 2 distinct elements. But then what I'll do, I will first calculate the total this, and then I will calculate only those subarrays which are having 1, like at most 1 distinct element, this one, then this 2, then this one, then this 2, right? All of these. So what we'll do eventually, we will basically subtract all those subarrays which have at most 1 element, distinct element, from those elements which have at most 2 to calculate exactly 2, right? So this question is very similar to the one which we solved a few days ago, binary subarrays with sum, right? So this is very similar to that one. So let's see how we can actually solve it. So initially I have 1. So I would simply add this to my map, 1 with frequency 1. And how many different subarrays I can form with this single one? That is only 1. So I will simply increment my subarray count by 1, which is nothing but end minus start plus 1. Now I will increment my end. Another element is coming into the window. So I'll simply add this. Still my size of hash map is basically 2. So now how many different subarrays I can form? So as you have seen that previously I formed only 1. Then I am forming, then when this 2 is introduced to this window, I can form 1 and 2 combined together, and then 2 as separate subarray. So how many different subarrays I will be adding? 2. So the total will become 3. Now let's move end to the next element. So now this one is 2. The frequency of this one is now 2. And still my size is valid size, because still in my window there are only 2 different elements. Now how many different subarrays I can form with the introduction of this one into this previous subarray? So this one can form another subarray, this one with combined with 2 can form one subarray, and this one combined with 1, 2 can form another subarray, right? 1 to 1. So I am getting 3 different subarrays. So this will become 6 basically, right? I hope you have got this. So let me write them separately. So 1 will be this one, then this would be 2 and 1, and then other would be 1, 2 and 1, right? Great. Now let's move this end further. And now with the introduction of this 2, so first of all, let's increment the frequency of 2. This will become 2. And now with the introduction of this 2, how many different subarrays you can form with this 2, right? So 2 will be the separate one, right? Then this 1 and 2 can form. Then this 2, 1, 2 will be there. And then 1, 2, 1, 2 will be there, right? 1, 2, 1, 2. So there are total 4, which is nothing but end minus start plus 1. So let me just add it. So the total subarray now count will become actually 10. Great. And let me add these subarrays also. Great. And now let's move further. Now the next element is 3. So I will add. And now at this point in time, your hash map size is invalid. Now this hash map is telling you that in the current window that you have covered so far, the total number of distinct elements are actually 3, which is wrong. Right. So what I will do, I will first make it stabilized. I will basically make it a valid window. How can I make it valid? By moving start to the next elements, right? So I will take this start, move it to next. So start will reach over here, and we will remove this one from this. So this would be this, but still the size of your window is 3, which is invalid. So we will move further. So now the element which is going out of the window is actually 2. So I will decrement the frequency and make it my as move forward. But still the size of your hash map is still 3, which is invalid once again. Now once again what I'll do, I'll make this one move out of the window. So when this one will be moving out of the window, so this will become 0, And because this is becoming 0, so I can remove this element from my hash map and I will increment my s. And at this point in time, your hash map size is actually 2, which is equivalent to your like k, right? So what I'll do, I'll basically take this and I will calculate how many different subarrays I can form with these two elements. So one subarray can be 3, another subarray can be 2, 3, right? So there will be 2 different subarrays with at most 2 distinct elements, right? So I'll add them here as well, 3 and then 2, 3. So how many total subarrays we have actually calculated so far, right? We have calculated, let's count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are in total 12 subarrays which are having at most 2 different elements, 2 distinct elements, at most 2 distinct elements, which means these subarrays contain single element as well. Now what we will do, we will restart the whole process, and now what I will do, I will calculate it. I will calculate those number of subarrays which have at most 1, right? So again, I think you can follow the same thing. So again, my subarray count will be started from 0, and these are the subarrays, right? And now let's calculate that as well quickly, right? So currently I will add this to my hash map. The current size is 1, which is fine. So I will simply add. So now subarray count will be 1, and let me just write them with another pen, right? So let me make some space over here. So let's say, okay, let me just circle them, right? So this is the one subarray which I have calculated 1, because with single 1 we can only form this one subarray, right? Now let's move forward. So end will come over here. The next element will be added as like this. But now the hash map size has become 2, which is invalid, because right now I am calculating for 1, not 2, right? So what will happen? I will have to shrink my window. So I will shrink this window. So this s will come out of the will go out of the window, and this will be removed from my hash map. So your s will come over here, and how many different subarrays I can form with this? Only 2, right? So this is nothing but this one, right? Great. Now let's move and forward. Once again I'm getting 1, so 1 will be added. Now once again your hash map has now like become invalid, basically, because your current window contains 2 different elements, which is wrong, because we are calculating for 1 only. So we will have to make this 2 out of the window. So we will make it out of the window, and s will be moved forward. Now s and e contains only 1. So how many different subarrays you can form? Only 1. So this one is basically this one, right? Great. And now let's move forward. So this end will move over here. So once again 2 is coming in the window. So we will have to remove this one, because this is invalid. So this will go out of the window and you will come over here. And once again you can form only 2. So this will be removed. Like this is what we are counting right now. So let me just increment that as well. Now we have counted 4 so far. Now this end will come over here. Another element is getting added, right? 3 is 1, right? So once again your current window has become invalid. So we will make this 2 out of the window. So this 2 will go out of the window, and s will be incremented over here. Now you have 1 element in your window, in your hash map, which means this 3, right? Great. So now what you will do, you have count and you will increment it. So you have subarray count is 5. Previously it was 12. Now you have calculated 5, and this is nothing but at most 1. At most 1. So now what you will do, you will basically subtract them. So 12 minus 5, and you can see now all of those subarrays which are remaining now, they contain at most 2 different elements. Sorry, exactly 2 different elements. Exactly 2 different elements. You can see that. So 12 minus 5, 7 will be the answer, right? So if I show you the code for this approach, so this is very simple, right? You can see that we will simply take a hash map. We will take our start and subarray count. We will run a loop. Every time we will push the element into the hash map, and we will check until my hash map size is greater than k. I will take the left element, remove it from the hash map. If the frequency is 0, I will remove it from the hash map. And every time I will make my start move forward. And once this window is valid, I can count my total number of subarrays which I can form. So this operation will be performed for k and k minus 1. And I will subtract this. So 12 minus 7 will be 5, my answer for this particular test case. So I hope you have understood this. Now let's look at the next approach, which is one pass algorithm. Let's look at that. So in this particular approach, what we will do, if you remember the binary subarray sum solution, in that particular case, what we were doing is we were basically calculating ones, like because the array was only containing 0 and 1s, right? So something like that. Now let's say our k is 4, like the target sum is 4. In that particular question, we needed to calculate total number of subarrays whose sum is equivalent to 4, right? So what we were doing is we were calculating prefix zeros in that particular question. So say for example, let's say I have calculated prefix zeros as 2, right? And now I will come over here, my start will come over here, and I will keep on incrementing my end until the sum becomes 4. Now end will come over here. Now this is exactly one subarray which is forming sum of 4, right? but we have two prefix zeros as well. So eventually what will happen? There will be one subarray this one, and there will be one subarray this one as well. Like apart from this single 1111. So what we were doing is we were saying, okay, 1 plus total prefix zeros. This is what we were doing, prefix zeros. So every time you are basically trying to calculate a new subarray. Every time you are calculating a new subarray, make sure you count prefix zeros, right? And then we will add 1 to this prefix 0. So eventually 3 subarrays will be there, whose sum is equivalent to 4 as per this subarray. The similar way, we are going to do something in this particular question as well. Let me just explain what and how we will be doing it, right? So what we will do, we will basically, I'll basically take prefix element variable. There will be one element, prefix element, right? What this element will do, let's try to understand that. Suppose for an example, say I'm considering this 1 and 2, let's say, right? So this is exactly subarray which contains two different elements. But if you look at these two elements, right, these are the elements which are same as of this subarray, right? So what I will do, I will count this one and this one as a prefix element. So now what will happen? My start will be here, my end will be here somehow. So this subarray will exactly make one subarray count, which contains exactly k different elements, and rest of them I will make sure that I will count them as a prefix element. There could be 2 also. Here we could have 2 as well. So again, like I could have counted this 2 as a part of my prefix element, right? So this 2 and this one will be part of my prefix element, but this one and this 2 will be the part of my current window. So then what I would say is, I would say, okay, let's consider this subarray as 1 plus, now whatever prefix element we have, those number of subarrays will be formed. So there will be in total 3 subarrays. And how? Let me just show it to you. So there will be one subarray 1 2 itself. Then there will be one subarray which is 1 1 2, and there will be another subarray which is 2 1 1 2, and there will be 3 different subarrays from these 4 elements together, right? So I hope you have understood this, what we'll be doing. So now let me just make it clear to you how we will be doing it, right? Because this is also very simple. So let's take S and E, and now K is 2 over here. Just don't forget this. So what I will do, I will take one element, subarray count, right? Subarray count, which is initially set to 0, and I will be taking a variable which is prefix element, right? Prefix element, this is also initially 0. Now the idea is very simple. Let's look at that. Let's take hash map as well. And current element is 1. Just add 1 to this and make your end move forward, right? Great. So we are really not calculating our subarray count because we don't have 2 different elements in our current window, right? Unless we don't have 2 elements, we won't be counting this. So now next element is 1. Now just think about this. This is very important. So as soon as you make this 2, now what will happen is, in your current subarray, what you can do is you have the same elements. So you will think, okay, let's start your subarray from here and take this 1 as a prefix element. So what you will do, you will take this prefix element will become now 1 because you are considering this 1 as a part of your prefix element, and you will increment your S. So when you will be incrementing your S, so this 1 is going out of the window, which means you will need to subtract your frequency once again and your S will move over here. So ideally what is happening over here, you will come to know. Just try to spend 1 more minute onto this, right? Let's do it once again. Now let's move this end once again, move forward. So end will come over here now. So once again your frequency will become 2. And now because your frequency is becoming 2, so you will take this element 1, which is at the start, not the end one, the start one, and I will check whether this particular frequency is greater than 1. Yes, it's greater than 1. So what will happen is, what I will do is basically, I will say take this one as a part of your prefix element. So this prefix element will become 2, and I will make this one out of the window. So when I will make this out of the window, so this will again become 1, and this S would be incremented. So far what I have done is, I have done basically that my subarrays is still starting from here, but I have counted these 2 ones as a part of my prefix element, right? So now let's move forward. Now the next element is 2. So add this 2 over here, and once again check whether my current window is invalid. No, current window is not invalid. Why? Because you have still 2 elements in your window, right? But at the same time, you are now having 2 different elements, which means this is what you are looking for. So what you will do, you will count your total number of subarrays which can be formed till this point. So this subarray is 1 subarray which you can form, right? And because these 2 subarrays will be more, you can actually form from these 2 ones. So eventually this is nothing but 1 plus 2, which is 3, right? Because you have two different prefix elements, and you can see that you are forming three different subarrays. One is this one, and two from these two prefix elements, right? Great. And now let's move forward. Now let's take another variable, because it is possible that once again I can get maybe 1 or 2, right? So let's move forward. Now the current element is 3. So let's add it. And now as you can see, at this point in time, your hash map has become invalid, right? Which means your current window is holding 3 different elements. So what I will do, I will try to shrink my window. So while shrinking my window, I will make sure that first of all, take this element, make this out of the window, right? So when I will be making this out of the window, this will become 0. And at the same time, reset your prefix element as well. So this prefix element will become 0 once again, because now you are considering two different new elements. So your prefix element should become 0, should be reset, right? So once again, you have got a perfect window, which is of size 2. And now once again, you can calculate your answer. So there will be only one subarray, which is nothing but 4. So I hope you have understood this. So let's code this problem, and I will suggest you to take one example and try to do the same thing, right? So let's code it quickly. So what I'm saying is, I'm saying that, okay, let's take one start variable, which is set to 0. Let's take one prefix element, which is initially 0. And now let's take one subarray count as well. Subarray count, which is initially 0. Now we will simply take one hash map also. So let's take one map of integer comma integer. And now we will run a loop. So for int end is equals to 0, end is less than nums dot length, and end plus plus, right? Now what will happen? Let's take current element. So current element is nothing but nums of end, right? And I will simply add this to my map. So map dot put current, then map dot get or default current comma 0 plus 1. So I'll simply put this value. And now there can be two cases. As soon as you put this value, there can be two cases. If your hash map, like your map dot size is greater than 3, like 2, sorry, is greater than k basically. There is one condition, right? If your hash map dot size is greater than k, what you need to do is, we will do it later. Let's focus first on the other one. Now, other condition was that until your map dot get nums of start, we are getting the frequency of the start variable. If it's greater than 1, right? If it's greater than 1, make sure you are saying, okay, let's say prefix element plus equal to 1, because you are basically incrementing your prefix count. Prefix element plus equal to 1. At the same time, you are basically putting map dot put nums of start comma map dot get nums of start and -1. Basically, you are reducing the frequency. So the element which is going out of the window, you are basically reducing the frequency for that. And because this is already having frequency, like this is repeating in the current window, so let's count them as a prefix element, right? And at the same time, I will say start plus equal to 1, because your start also needs to move, right? Now, this is one condition. Other condition is that it is possible that as soon as you add a new element to your map, your current window can become invalid, right? So what we will do in that case, first of all, we will reset our prefix element to 0. This is first condition. Second condition is, so we can remove that particular element from our hash map. So we can simply say, just remove this element from our map, and we can simply start plus equal to 1, right? We can simply make our start move forward. There will be two conditions, right? Great. And now once these two conditions run, we are making sure that our window is also valid, and we have already calculated the prefix element as well. So what we can do is, now we can simply say, okay, 1 plus prefix element. These will be the total number of subarrays, right? Great. And thus we can come out of the loop and we can return our subarray count. This is it. Let's try to run this. And guys, this is a high recommendation that you go and watch the binary sum subarray problem, right? You will get that. Oh, sorry, this is, yeah, this should run now. Oops, this is giving wrong. Why? Let's see why this is giving me wrong. Okay, one condition, which is we should only count subarrays if the size of my map is exactly 2, because otherwise it will count on 1 as well, right? Yeah. So now let's run it once again. Yeah, it is accepted. Let's try to submit this. And it got submitted, right? So this is how we can actually achieve this, right? This is very simple. I would highly recommend that you go and watch binary subarray sum problem, and then you will get it definitely, right? So yeah, this is it from my side for this video. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, bye bye.